All right, let's call the meeting to order. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission for February 14th, 2023. We're going to do the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Everybody stand. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, Lord God. Thank you for all these citizens, Lord. Please help us as we do the work of the city, Lord. Please protect our citizens and our first responders, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chair Lomnax?
Here.
Member Mellon?
Here.
Member Williams? Here. Member Forges?
Here.
Member Keller?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Consent agenda. Can I get an approval for the minutes of December 13th of 2022?
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Member Keller. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Member Mellon. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Perfect. No old business. New business. We have 413 Whittier Avenue. I may say this wrong. Fat and Temple Incorporated property. This is going to be two deals. We're going to do annexation and a rezoning. It's going to be for AX 012302 and RZ 230102. Zoning Manager Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. This is an annexation and rezoning for 413 Whittier Avenue. The request is to annex into the city from the county and to change it from the county's R1 residential district to the city's R1 residential district. This is a general location of the property. It's roughly 325 feet north of Silver Star on the east side of Whittier, just under a quarter acre. The property is eligible for annexation because it is adjacent to the city. It's eligible for city services, and it reduces an existing enclave. And the proposed request is consistent with the approved JPA future land use map. This is an aerial of the location. The surrounding zoning districts you'll see is adjacent to the city on the east and south sides, and this is the surrounding future land use designations. The DRC met on this item last week, the week before, and had no issues with it, so staff is recommending approval of the annexation to go from the county to the city, and the corresponding rezoning to go from the county's R1 to the city's R1 for the 0.16 acre property located at 413 Whittier Avenue. The property owner and her applicant are here to answer questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anybody have any questions for staff? Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing. The applicant, do you want to say anything, or you're good? Cool. All right. Anybody else want to speak on this matter? All right, we're going to close the public hearing. Anybody have any other questions for staff? I'll take a motion, please.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval of annexation AX 2302.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to recommend approval by Member Williams and a second by Member Keller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good to go. Congratulations.
We gotta do the rezoning.
One more.
Jeez, look at me.
All right, I'll make that motion.
Listen, it's Valentine's Day, wife's at home with dinner, you know? It's all good. Okay, so I need a second motion for the rezoning.
I'll make that motion to recommend, as a planning and zoning board, recommend rezoning, project number RZ 230102.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Member Mellon and a second by Member Williams. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now, congratulations. All right, next up, we have 474 South Blueford Avenue condominiums. This is a comprehensive planned future land use map amendment from low-density residential LDR to medium-density residential MDR, also rezoning from R1AA to a PUD. Project notes are gonna be two, we're gonna do here, CPA 2022-005 and RZ 221245. Zoning Manager Whitfield.
Thank you. 474 South Blueford Avenue condominiums project, comp plan amendment and rezoning. The change is to go from low-density residential, which allows up to 4 units per acre, to medium-density residential to allow a range of 4 to up to 8 units per acre. And the zoning change would be from R1AA to PUD, planned unit development. This map shows the location of the property is on the east side of South Blueford Avenue, approximately 235 feet north of Orlando Avenue. It's just shy of 1 acre. The site's currently wooded and vacant. I didn't put a fourth bullet in here. It's in the downtown redevelopment overlay area. This is an aerial of the property. You can see it's wooded. This is the surrounding zoning and the surrounding future land use map. The DRC met on this item on February 7th and recommended approval subject to a couple of conditions. The first one is to revise the land use plan to indicate a maximum impervious surface area. The reason for that is that all of the other conventional zoning districts in Table 5-2 has set impervious surface area requirements. 5-2 also has all the other residential zoning districts. It has all the minimum lot sizes, minimum front setbacks, rear side setbacks, maximum height, coverage area, and things of that nature. Because this is a planned unit development, those standards live outside of Table 5-2, so by virtue of the land use plan, the development has the opportunity to create their own standards via the land use plan. So the standards created in the land use plan is what dictates on this particular property, just like with all the other land use plans for other PUDs in the city. In terms of the second condition for the land use plan is to revise the note so that the landscape buffer along Blueford Avenue complements the street's landscape plan or the city's landscape plan that will come into play when the city moves forward with the Blueford Streetscape Improvements Project. So we didn't want to have them provide the traditional one tree every 50 feet, canopy tree every 50 feet, the 3 understory trees every 100 feet, because we wanted to save that opportunity to make sure that this development merges cohesively with the Streetscape Improvement Project. And then the last condition relative to the land use plan is the identification of where they're going to connect water and sewer. Water and sewer services are available to the site. They just have to engineer the specifics in terms of those locations. And also, because of the existing median on Blueford, their access, while it's on Blueford, would have to be a limited access, meaning right in, right out. There will be no left exits and no right exits. No left exits and left entrance, strictly a right in, right out, and also the location of a garbage dumpster. The last condition that is outside of the land use plan is that the applicant would have to sign a development agreement with the city in terms of dealing with the specifics for the infrastructure if they were to build their own force main or some other public infrastructure. Because the city is not at that point with the streetscapes, then when that comes on, then they would have to abandon their private one and then connect to the cities. The development agreement would also spell out any changes that would need to be made in the future. So since the time of the DRC meeting, the applicant has made the revisions as requested relative to the land use plan. And I have to put on my glasses so I can see this. So originally, when the plan came in, this access route here did not have the pork chop. It just had your traditional flared apron, which, because the existing median is roughly right here, it's not really enough of a deterrent to stop people from making unsafe traffic maneuvers and turning left in or turning left out. So at the request of the city, they've added a pork chop to make it clear that it's a right in, right out only. We had asked them to bring the building forward and not have any parking in the front, so that what what you're seeing is a more pedestrian scale, walkable environment, so there's no big garages facing Bluford. They've installed the garbage dumpster here so that garbage collection could just come in, back out, and then exit back out. The fire marshal did not have any concerns with the layout that's shown here. Each unit will have 2 parking spaces in the garage, and they're also providing visitor parking spaces and also a 30-foot drive aisle to allow maneuverability and movement in the back of the building. In terms of landscaping and building setbacks, the land use plan itself, because of the city's process, it allows them to provide, to set their setbacks. So they're proposing 10 feet on the north and 10 feet on the south. And then I believe it's about 15 feet here. We want the building closer to the street. They also provided the parking ratios here to make it nice and clear. Their max height is 44 feet. Right now, the table 5-2 height for all the other conventional zoning districts is 35 feet. And that is, I can't read what that says. Oh, that's connections. And then they added the note that the landscaping, when they go in for site planning, will be compliant or consistent with the Bluford streetscape planning. So stormwater will be provided on site. So based on the land use plan that they provided, other than the development agreement execution, they've addressed all of staff's or all of the DRC's comments. In terms of utility connections, they also sent this. Utilities asked them to show the water sewer lines and how they would connect. I believe it's up here and then down. I don't know the details of it, but this essentially addresses the DRC's utility comments until site planning. This is the rendering that they've provided. It's a 3-story building. This is the front facing Bluford, and this will be the backside facing the school. And some side views. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the comp plan amendment to go from low-density residential to medium-density residential. In terms of the land use designation, the comprehensive plan does allow for apartments, townhomes, cottage homes, and things like that in the MDR. Future land use designation, the rezoning is to go from R1 AA to PUD for the property at 474 South Bluford, subject to the remaining outstanding condition, which is the execution of the development agreement. And the applicant team is here in the back corner if you have any questions, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for staff?
One question if I can, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I know on the north side there, it's deep enough and they say that's good for getting out and maneuverability. What about the south side? That seems like a narrower place where those south 2 building or condos will be. Is that going to be enough room there as well, or does that need to be moved back?
They're showing it at 30 feet. The code requirements for 2-way traffic for a drive aisle is 22 feet, so they're providing an additional 8 feet throughout the entire drive aisle.
I'm gonna make a comment quick before asking anybody else for questions. I wanna make sure I'm very clear and consistent that this area is not ready for this type of construction yet. I mean, in my opinion. I think downtown and infrastructure needs to be done a little more, and probably that corner needs to, go at the same time. But so I just want to be clear what my opinion is that area is not ready yet. But I will ask if anybody else has any other questions before we.
Mr. Chair, yeah. I just want to make sure I understand. The first 2 conditions were resolved. I couldn't understand. Forgive me that I couldn't hear as clearly. And that you're only recommending the last condition to be moved forward?
Yes, ma'am. They provided a revised land use plan between the February 7th DRC meeting and the creation of this PowerPoint. So what the city has right now is the updated land use plan. That's not in your packet because we had to send it out earlier than the hearing date. But they did revise the land use plan to indicate the maximum impervious. That dictates, the amount of stormwater capacity that they have to design for. They provided the note about the landscaping along Blueford to make sure that it's consistent with the streetscape improvements for Blueford. They showed the map, the locations of the water sewer connections from their site to the nearest city location. So it's shown, they have provided that. And they've updated the access so that it's a right in, right out only to avoid any unsafe maneuvers. And then the location of the dumpster. So those were all the things that were in the first bullet that's specific to the land use plan itself.
Okay, thank you. That clarified. I was in and out hearing what you were saying.
All right, before we go along with any more comments or questions, I will open the public hearing, then we'll ask the applicant if they'd like to come up. If they'd like to make some comments. Yes.
Hi, my name is Constance Silver. My address is P.O. 611 Stone Oak Drive, Sanford. I'm the civil engineer also, and so if you had any questions particular to the design or the design intent, I'm here to answer any questions.
Great. Does anybody have any questions about the design or any of that nature for the engineer? Okay. This is a public, do you have a comment? No. Okay. This is a public hearing, so we'll go ahead and, do we have some comments, Kathy? Did you guys bring your papers back up? Sorry. Absolutely. And I know I joke about dinner. We can stay here all night, guys. I'm just kidding. But I will say, if your comments seem to be close to the same, right, then, I got dinner coming up soon. Yes, we are going to give you three. Everybody's going to get 3 minutes. All right, we're going to start with Daryl Braylon? Braylon, yeah. All right, come on up, sir. You get 3 minutes.
I won't need 3 minutes, but my name's Daryl Braylon. I live at 550 South Blueford, right across from the fire station on the corner of White Road and Blueford. And I've lived there going on 40 years, and I've seen a lot of changes there at that corner. But just in my view, my opinion, I'm not in favor of this going in here. I think we already have congestion with traffic areas when schools getting in and out. I think that would be a real issue. And I just don't, for that area of town, I just don't think it's a good fit. And I'm not opposed to having something like that, but I would rather see it as the downtown develops, something put in there, and that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we got David Blayville. Excuse me.
Hello, my name's David Blackwell. I live at 487 South Blueford Avenue, so I live across the street from that piece of property. And some of the concerns that I have is we met, I can't recall, it was a few months ago or a number of months ago on a similar discussion for a piece of property diagonal to that. And my concerns are similar. I'm just wondering what circumstances may have changed that we would be considering a rezoning at this one. Because I appreciate, growth in the city as well, as that gentleman had indicated. However, no quantifiable benefits to the surrounding properties and to the city residents have been presented to support any increase in land use density at the subject property in consideration of granting these variances. And usually these multifamily residential developments are expected to be adjacent to areas of commercial real estate or mixed use. And that's referenced in the downtown master plan. However, everything around this piece of property is single-family residential. So, that seems like that would be in conflict with that particular plan. So I'm not in favor of changing the zoning to that either. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Larry Klein?
My name's Larry Klein. I live at 401 South Cumberland Street, and I'm opposed to this proposal. This is basically the same thing we went through last year with the one across the street, except they moved the parking to the rear instead of the front, but you still have no green space in front. That was one of the big issues last year. They wanted front porches, they wanted green space. You have about 5 feet from the sidewalk to the property. And this area is single-family houses, it's not townhouses. Townhouses need to be where other townhouses are and not where single family is. Because right now you're going from houses along there have probably about 20, 25-foot setback to townhouses that's going to have about a 5, 6-foot setback, and it just doesn't fit in with the area. And like I said, I want to see development in that area, but I'd like to see single-family houses continue. It's a great opportunity, it's a great neighborhood, and it just needs to stay that way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You got one more? Jason, will you grab that from her? Or you can say his name.
Dan Bright.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for sacrificing your evening for this. It's great. Appreciate it. My name's Dan Bright. We live at, and with my wife Melanie, we're at 601 South Lakewood Avenue, which is just a block from that area. One of the concerns that I have is, what would this do then to open up that whole area for becoming developed in this way, and a high density of that space? If this is then given, the provisions are made for this, what then will then happen to the rest of that area? Question I have is, we're having the hearing. I'm hoping that this isn't a done deal. I'm hoping that this is a hearing in which we are hearing and getting input, and that, as you said, Chair Blomnick, that we're not really ready as far as the infrastructure. Also, the height is a concern, 44 feet. I mean, it's a 3-story building. We don't have anything like that, I don't think, within the downtown area. So as far as the aesthetics, as far as the feel, I mean, these are very nice units, but I think that there are a lot of other places that this kind of design could go and would probably be very welcome and be a benefit. But for this area right here, for this neighborhood, which is single-family use, we're opposed to it and would like to see some other recommendations.
Thank you very much. Enoch, what, I know I asked you, the height for this building, what do we think it is?
45 feet, I'm sorry, 44 feet.
44 feet. Yeah. Anybody else want to speak? All right, we're going to close the public hearing. Do you have something, Mike?
Oh, no.
Perfect.
I took it out.
Did you need something else? Did you want to say something
I
else?
thought she had another slide to show, but she doesn't.
You good?
The slide that I had apparently not in my flash drive, it's on my desktop. It just shows the property in relation to the city's, sorry, I can't see far with those on. The city's adopted downtown redevelopment area. It goes from north of here, obviously, all the way down to Colonial, State Road 50. So, and in that plan, it speaks to allowing a mix and multi-uses, including vertical mixed use and horizontal mixed use in the downtown redevelopment area, not necessarily specific to site.
Okay.
That was in the other slide. As I mentioned, the MDR does allow for a variety of housing types.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my personal opinion one more time, and then I'm gonna ask anybody else. This area's gonna be converted one day, right? There's gonna be this development. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. My personal opinion, today's not the day. We need downtown to be worked on first. You know, whatever happens with Old City Hall and things of that nature. But I personally would not recommend this because of the height at this time. So does anybody else have any comments?
I do, Mr. Chair. I agree with you 100%. I also agree with David, Larry, Dan, and I don't know who Scott Logheed is, but this is a very comprehensive list. What? Go ahead.
If someone has something that they're trying to enter into the record, they really should be present to do it,
Correct, right.
as opposed to having.
Okay, well, I'll retract that last statement and just continue on.
It's just, you know,
Totally understand.
I assume they'll come maybe to the commission meeting and present what they do
Okay.
there. It will be entered into the record, I believe, but we should not comment on it since there's no one here.
Okay, I totally agree. All right, I will also add that it does not fit the area at all, or the surrounding area in the homes. And being it's owned already R1, I think that change really messes up the area. I'm not a big fan of the front being so close to the roadway. I'm not a big fan of changing the setbacks either. And agree with Brad, I just don't think at this point in time, this is a good fit for the area until, you know, downtown is complete, we have a better direction of a city. That's all I got.
Yeah, so, and I also want to remind everybody else as well, right? The only thing we're doing here is making recommendations to the city council, right? This doesn't stop or start with this board. So whatever our recommendation is, it will go to the council and they'll make the final determination, but
So I have a comment.
please.
My concern, I won't repeat what you all have said, but my concern is that the infrastructure just doesn't seem to be in place there to support the development, and it's just not ripe yet. That's the direction or my opinion on the matter.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on this. You mentioned one of the conditions was height. How high was it before? 44 feet?
It didn't, it only stated the height at the ceiling plate, so I asked them to show the actual height at the very topmost point.
Okay, and also I should comment that the last project that came here before was for high density. This is medium density. Personally, I feel that it's a little bit too high right now for this kind of development. Do you have a plan B as far as a lower height of a building? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna reopen the public comments, hopefully just for her. But if anybody else wants to.
Well, the units are, or the townhomes are 3,600 square feet, and so we're trying to make them large enough so that, you know, it'll be more appealing, more space for bigger families. There's only 6 units. I think we started out with 7, and so we had discussions with the staff and reduced it to 6, and then we pushed the building closer to the street because they were doing all the streetscaping and, you know, wanted everything else in the back. I mean, we don't have a plan B because we went with this plan and that's what we stuck with. I don't know, maybe if we reduced the height that, you know, it would still be a good project. Also, we were gonna run a force main down the street just south of Columbus to tie into a manhole, and I guess there might be opportunity for other homes to tie into that because I guess there's no sewer along the street. So it just seemed like, a project that would benefit other people too along the street, on that street.
Correct.
So I don't know what infrastructure is still lacking there besides the sanitary.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Again, my only opposition to this is, again, I don't oppose to having, this is downtown, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I gotta close the public meeting. Anybody else want to speak again? Fill out another form once you're done.
I fill it out before or after?
After.
Okay.
After.
Hi, this is
Just
Dave.
state your name and address again.
Okay, it's David Blackwell, 487 South Bluford Avenue. I live across the street. And I know you had mentioned about Scott's in-depth, or that,
was
I also
redacted.
have that, and I was reading some excerpts. But
Yeah.
if we can't enter that into consideration, I can spend my time and go down and read them if that
You only have
helps.
about a minute left out of your
Yep.
3 minutes.
I mean, because they were saying that it would be classified as R3, and per the LDC Table 5-2, under this usage, the proposed development would not meet the specified minimum zoning requirements and setbacks. The height of 44 feet is in excess of the maximum building of residential zoning and the nature of the surrounding communities. The orientation of the building does not take into account the east-west exposure of the LDC, Section 6-15C. I mean, he has a lot of good information on this that I think, was worth considering.
I may or may not have mentioned that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, we're gonna close the public hearing.
All right, and I'll make the final comments there, because I was going to make that as my second question before we sort of got sidetracked and other questions there, and we opened the public hearing, but I did have the same concerns. I'm also looking at it as, one, I don't think the area is ready for it. I really don't. Last year, I know if that was high density, this is medium density, but I think you're basically at the same situation. And the fact that you need a right in, right out only, I think also addresses the fact that this probably is not the right place for this at this time. So I would like us to move forward with letting the commission know that we're not necessarily in favor of this, and we think, just as they did last year with the other property, they probably should not go through with this one either.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr.
Any other
Chairman?
questions for staff?
I do have a comment.
Yes? Did you fill out a form?
Since, I just wanted to address the gentleman's comments, Section 6-15C doesn't apply. Table 5-2 doesn't apply. So there are no variances needed because it is a land use plan. Sorry, I'll look blurry with these glasses on. 6-15 is for apartments in the conventional zoning districts, so that policy, that standard doesn't apply. Table 5-2 also is for all the other conventional zoning districts, so we are not obligated to that standard because the land use plan allows any development site to set its standards as long as the site can be engineered to support whatever that is. I also want to point out that because this is a PUD rezoning, this body is able to make a recommendation of denial, a recommendation of approval with conditions, and specify what those conditions are, or approval, which of course is not looking in that direction.
Thanks. All right, and I will make one last personal comment. Just so you know, we do have, in our city, there are condos, townhomes directly next to neighborhoods. I mean, there's behind Texas Roadhouse on Clark Road, they already live together, right? So, I mean, it's happening. It's gonna happen, just with my recommendation, not today. So, on that note, we've closed the public hearing, we're good to go. I'll entertain a motion to, whatever you wanna do.
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to recommend denial of this, I'm trying to find, of the, denial of turning it from low density to medium density and and that is project number what is that?
CPA.
CPA 2022-005.
Thank you. Do we have a
Sorry about
second?
that.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a recommendation for denial by member Mellon and a second by member Williams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right. Dang it. I need another motion for the rezoning.
I'll make that motion.
I'm sorry, one second. Doesn't it automatically?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's better if we
Okay.
just do both. We do need, I agree, because if we don't change the future land use map, we aren't going to rezone, but let's just keep it clean.
Give me a motion.
Okay, I'll make that motion to recommend denial of the rezoning of this project, and that number is, let me find it, RZ 22-1245.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion to recommend denial by member Mellon and a second by member Keller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we're done with that.
Make sure y'all go to the city council meeting and
All right, next up. We got item number 4, which is 911 Marshall Farms Road. This is the Surjala property. Sorry if I said that wrong. Annexation or rezoning. Project notes are gonna be AX 012301, and we're gonna need a second for RZ 230101. Zoning Manager Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 911 Marshall Farms Road, annexation and rezoning. To go from the county to the city, and to go from the county's A1 Citrus Rural District to the city's C2 Community Commercial District. The property is on the east side of Marshall Farms Road. It's about 1,000 feet north of State Road 50. It's just under 2¼ acres in size. Just like the first one, is eligible for annexation because of its adjacency to the city limits. It can be serviced by city water and sewer, and it's reducing the existing enclave. The site is inside of the CRA as well, and it's also within the Ocoee study area. This is an aerial of the property across from Manheim. The surrounding zoning districts, all commercial, and the surrounding future land use. These sites here along the east side of Marshall Farms Road has commercial future land use on the west side and conservation on the east side. What this map shows is a snippet from the figure 3A from the city's Ocoee study area requirements. And basically what it represents is the areas where the city has committed to the state to not touch those areas. We are to keep them in conservation. This is a zoom in of the property. It's gray now because it's in unincorporated Orange County, and then all of this green will stay conservation. And our JPA map also shows it as a portion in commercial and a portion in conservation. This is a straight rezoning request, so it's not a PUD, so there's no land use plan, but the applicants have provided, at staff's encouragement, to provide just a concept site plan, just to make sure that what they're wanting to do could possibly fit on the property. And they had survey work done, and it shows the wetlands area approximately in this location, so the conservation area, it would be about 325 feet or so from the west property line. This is just a concept. It can change when we go into site planning, but it's a small footprint for an office building. Their business is tech hauling. They want to move their office here. They would have a service bay just to work on their own personal fleet. It would not be open to the public. Sorry, I should have gone to this one. This is a zoomed-in version. So when it comes time for site plan review, it'll go through a small-scale review, so this body won't see that site plan when it comes in, but generally it's a small footprint with one bay, handicap parking in the front, putting in the required 25-foot buffer, and the rest of the parking is in the rear. But again, this would need to be engineered to make sure that it actually can accommodate what they're showing here. and then all the requirements of C2 would apply. DRC met on this item on the February 7th. They made a recommendation of approval for the annexation and the rezoning, subject to a condition that the C2 is limited to just the 325 feet west side, west portion of the property for development, and then the remainder would be in an unclassified zoning category, so that we will be sure not to touch the conservation area. That's consistent with our conservation policies as well as the Wakaba study area requirements. And with that, staff is making the same recommendations for annexation approval and the rezoning, limiting it to just C2 in the front portion, 325 feet, and then the rest being unclassified. And the applicant is sitting in the back, and she's available for questions if you have any. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for staff?
I got one, just a more curiosity. When like a lot like this is split between like the wetlands, and is there any mitigation required? You know, or as long as they don't touch a certain point, then there's no mitigation?
Yes, they're developing just in the upland portion, so they're not touching the conservation area.
Thank you.
Great. All right. We're going to open up the public hearing. Is the applicant present if you'd like to say something? Cool. Anybody want to talk about this? You sure? I'm going to close the public hearing. Any other questions for staff? Does this work because the green space, the wetlands is in the city, or?
Well, so the property is still one whole 2.22 acre size. You can just like with Araya, we did the rezoning and to go from and comp plan amendment to go from LDR to professional office just for that 1 acre portion. The line just lives on the map in terms of the colors.
But I mean, how do you bring it in if it's not contiguous?
It's contiguous on the east and west sides.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
I got a question for staff. Unless I missed it, is this a warehouse or an office with a warehouse?
It's an office, no warehouse.
No warehouse. What's that? Can you go back to that sketch? There was a bay. What is that bay for?
It's to service they have trucks that they use to go to construction sites. So people would, I guess, lease their trucks, or they provide that service, hauling service to, at work at a construction site. And then those trucks, they leave empty and they return empty. And the bay is to service their own trucks. And I believe you have
But
5 trucks.
that doesn't fall under industrial?
It's, the main use is just their office because they want to have their home office there.
But the fact of the matter is they're gonna be servicing trucks.
It's repair of their own personal, it's not a service that's offered. The principal use of that site is their home office. It's not providing service to trucks in general.
It's not outside storage like a concrete plant or Sunbelt, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
So the
they're not-
service area will be indoors,
Inside.
inside. Okay.
Inside
I
their-
assume. I don't know anything about this. Okay, you good? Or you have more questions?
I guess I'm good, but.
No,
okay.
please.
No, for what? I mean, we good.
Do you want to hear from the applicant?
Sure, I'd like to, because, give us an example of what, of what
I'm
your
going to
service
open up
would
the
look
public
like.
hearing if you'll just come up to the mic. This shouldn't take too long.
My name is Emma Sergio, I'm the owner. You need the street address for that property?
Name and address for
Oh,
you.
720 Belterry Court, Winter Garden. It's just to maintain our trucks, make sure that we keep our work in-house, and that our trucks are good and safe when they goes out in the community.
Correct, but the majority of the space will be used for the trucks. There'll be a small portion of it to be an office. I just can't understand how it's not industrial.
Because the main
main
purpose of
use.
building the structure, I believe, is 4,000 square feet, the last concept plan that I saw. The majority of that is their office. And then there's one bay for
Okay.
servicing their trucks.
So the office portion is larger
Yes.
than the maintenance area? Okay, sorry, these little screens. Okay,
Good.
that's all.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, if it's proportionate, that the office is a larger portion, yes, I can understand that. Because from what I'm saying, I just saw.
I'm gonna
Warehouse.
close the public hearing. Yeah, I think the primary use is what it's about, right? If the primary use was to be a trucking company that had trucks there, that they unloaded, loaded, kept the trucks, did outside storage, then that's an industrial use, right? At the end of the day, it's an office building that has some trucks. I would say it's akin to Spectrum having their Spectrum trucks there, right? Their main use is their office. Anyway. Huh? Listen, All right, any
That's
other
an
questions
industrial
for
spot.
staff? What's that?
That's an industrial, it's not commercial.
It's not industrial, stop it.
Where Spectrum is, yes.
Okay. That area is, you're correct, it was a bad analogy, get off me.
You're getting caught up in a map that didn't even need to be in the set in the first place.
Anybody else have any other questions? I'll take a motion, please.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we, as the Planning and Zoning Commission, recommend approval of the project, thank you, it just disappeared, the annexation AX012301.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion for a recommendation to approve by Member Williams, second by Member Forges. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's good. I'll take the second one now.
I'll make that motion to recommend rezoning of project number RZ 230101.
And I'll second it.
All right, we have a recommendation for approval of the rezoning by Member Mellon.
So, with conditions?
Do we have, with conditions?
The conditions that they
staff-
only do the 50, the 325 feet or whatever it is, so that it keeps the conservation area.
With staff's conditions.
Thank you.
Is that cool?
With staff's conditions.
Thank you.
Great.
I'll
All right.
second that.
We have a motion for recommendation approval with staff's conditions, and a second, that's by Member Mellon, and a second by, Member Keller. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that is all for that. We're gonna go to our miscellaneous, where Mr. Romer gets to do his song and dance for a minute.
I'm disappointed we didn't use our little buttons up here today.
Yeah, now that I'm official, I didn't get to
I
press the
don't wanna look
buttons.
silly on TV and, miss the button.
In the spirit of Valentine's Day and love, I will not revisit the second item with you guys. I'm here to answer questions, and also to give you an update, just some things. If you get a chance, go to where the new Rustique is, the Inspiration Plan Unit Development. It is a very beautiful, high-end done, successful place off of Tommen Boulevard. He's got 4 of the townhomes ready. They are magnificent. That will have 90 townhomes in total when it's built out. We had the grand opening of the Wellness Park on Bluford Avenue across from the police station today. You can take a half-mile trek around the pond, and there is exercise stations along the way. And you can also, has barcode or something, you can track your fitness level. We will be soon, hopefully in March, kicking off the ribbon cutting for the Unity Park, which is a downtown master stormwater pond to capture stormwater, but it's set up in a park setting, which has a dock over the water and terraces around that. So we have a new subdivision submittal on one of the 3 parcels that we have left of significant size. This is off of A.D. Mims and adjacent to Prairie Lake that we're under review right now. And we're finalizing the review of 2 mixed-use centers, one on Old Winter Garden Road at McGuire, the Regency, and then the one that's up by the high school. So we'll be bringing some, so one of those site plans will come back to you shortly. With that, I'm here to entertain any questions, comments.
I got a note saying our next meeting was canceled. Is that on Election Day?
It's on Election Day, so it is canceled, yes.
Okay. Since it's a month away, can we use that month on a different week and do some code review, or maybe have a Mike Rumor lesson one night?
Do you have the hard calendar? I have to look at the calendar.
I know
We
I'm
have a city
getting
calendar.
you off your track here, but You know,
Well-
maybe not next month, but if there's a month to where we don't have something, maybe
Yes.
you can,
We want to keep a meeting and fill it with stuff, yes, definitely. Yeah, the code enforcement, there's only 4 Tuesdays, but there is, that last week of March, there is stuff available on a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, so we could look at that, but
yeah, that'd be
get back
great.
with you on that. Okay.
If that doesn't work, you know, maybe
Yes.
sometime where you feel we don't have anything, it'd be great to do a
Okay.
code review. Maybe we
Yes.
could tell Mr. Forges what, you know,
Yes.
industrial looks like.
Well, he's spot on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That
what I do for a
parcel lends itself because on the, it's diagonal. So on the one side, above it is wetlands and a future city pond for the widening of McGuire Road. Then you have the hotel and stuff, driveway. So there's nothing else going next to it. There's no opportunities. So we've hammered that site. I've told them, do not buy the site. They bought it. I told them the use what they had was not appropriate for anything available in the city of Ocoee. They purchased that because it was in the county. And I said, well, you have to annex into the city to get water. So we've modified that site from what they originally wanted. And I'm glad you said that because they think we're cuckoo, so.
So, for the
that lends
record, I
some
was
credence to
So
what
I
we
don't
were
give a- I
talking
don't give a
about. But that site
clarifications.
has modified from what initially they want to do.
So
Thank
that's how it qualifies under the
One bay,
commercial
it's
and
just like,
not-
well, it's one bay, it could be for deliveries, they're gonna use it to pull in a truck, service it. If they move out, it can be for deliveries for a retail center or something, so.
And I must admit that I let off only because the density, the residential density is not so strong there. But I would not have backed
We're
off.
talking about the one on Marshall Farms.
Correct.
Oh, the resident, I got you, okay.
It's not so high there, so it's okay, but
Yeah.
that is. Well, there you go. At the end of the day, it is, in my opinion, industrial use.
all right, let's reel it in.
Did you,
Don't attack me.
Mr. Chairman, you wanted to ask me for an update on
Yes,
something?
yes. Do you happen to have an update of what's going on with the Ocoee Village and
Center.
Lakewood Drive? And-
Yes. The Ocoee Village Center, which is the mixed-use development that has 3 elements to it, main elements, the multifamily, the townhomes, and the commercial. And then there's also a public park, a realignment of a road. The developer that championed that had 3 successful developments prior to that in the city of Ocoee. They had Spring Lake Reserve, Oak Trail Reserve, and McCormick Reserve. They all have reserve. And this one was a little bit more, I think, than he could bit off more than he could chew, and it had some difficulty. And the idea was he was getting it pre-master planned, and then he had contracts to sell to different entities. The apartments he sold to, the townhome, Park Square he sold to, and then Conover, who's the commercial entity, had to take down the rest of the commercial part. And fell in some arrears, and they had to take over the development. The 3 different companies had to form a consortium and had to get all of that paperwork together, so work stopped on the site. Because of some revisions that needed to be done and some change orders and tasks like that. So the consortium finally got together, they could get 3 companies to agree on who's responsible for what percentage, and they came back together and have saved that project to keep it moving forward. Part of the issue is some of the land is still under the ownership of a creditor that, from what we understand, doesn't have any intent to keep the land, do anything. So as long as they keep moving forward, that should work itself out. But the contractor, John M. Hall, will be on site, mobilizing on site this week, and it'll take them two months to finish the infrastructure. They got a little bit of work with the lift station. Everything's held hostage. The apartments can be ready to go. They can't move anybody in because the public road leading up to it's not turned over to us. The townhomes, there's not a public road to us. They all need the lift station. The lift station's not turned on and ready. Until that happens, they're stuck. They can have the nicest place that you can drive by and look at, and it's gonna be a ghost town. So they are working at it. So we had a hiccup. They came in and saved the day. It's just taking, every change order goes through 3 different companies, 6 different lawyers, different accountants, and it takes a while to get signed off. And the contractors have so much work, they go to where they're gonna work. They don't have to piddle around. So once everything's ready, they're coming and blowing through and done, moving on. They're not just gonna, we had hoped they would do some stuff here and there. But one thing that has happened while the work stopped is the intersection that has a new signal and the pedestrian crossings, they were able to get those Orange County permits, and they did set the mast arms for the future signal. So a little bit of work went on, not enough, and yes, we have that coupled with the detours from the work on the 429 every day, and it's just been beautiful.
Gotta love it. Thank you very much. I will let everybody know, Scott Kennedy has resigned from the board, so we have, an opening. Hopefully Mike and everybody's gonna figure out about Mr. Keller here, if he'll be made a full member, or what the commission's gonna do with that. So hopefully by our next meeting, we'll have that squared away. And does anybody else have any other questions for Mike? All right, thank you all, have a great night.
Thank you.